You probably have thoughts running through your head right now that don't belong to you. And the scary part, you've heard them so many times. You mistake them for your own voice. You've been taught your entire life to look outward before looking inward, to measure yourself against other people's opinions, to pause before you speak, to hesitate before you act, to shrink parts of yourself so you can fit into the expectations of everyone around you. And over time, something subtle happens. The person you truly are begins to disappear beneath layers of approval-seeking, self-censorship, and fear. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people aren't controlled by force. They're controlled by fear. Fear of judgment. Fear of rejection. Fear of standing out. And until you understand how that fear operates, you'll never experience real freedom. In this video, we're exploring the dangerous art of becoming shameless, not reckless, not arrogant, but free. Free from the invisible influence of other people's opinions. Free from the psychological prison of needing permission to be yourself. This isn't motivation. It's a deep dive into the hidden mechanisms that shape your identity, your behavior, and the life you end up living. Because the moment you understand these mechanisms, you begin taking your power back. The invisible programming of social conditioning. Have you ever had the feeling that you're not actually living as yourself? That somehow you're living as a version of yourself that was designed by everyone else? Most people assume their personality is something they naturally developed. But what if much of what you call me is actually conditioning? A collection of beliefs, behaviors, fears, and rules absorbed over years without conscious awareness. From childhood, you're taught how to behave, how to sit, how to speak, what is acceptable, what is unacceptable, when to express yourself, when to stay quiet. And gradually, these lessons become so familiar that you stop seeing them as instructions. You start seeing them as your identity. But beneath the surface, something else is happening. An invisible system is being installed. A system designed to keep behavior predictable, acceptable, and socially approved. When a child enters the world, there is no shame. A child laughs loudly, cries openly, falls down and gets back up without embarrassment. They express themselves without constantly monitoring how they appear to others. But as they grow older, the corrections begin. Don't do that. People are watching. That's inappropriate. You should be ashamed. Small moments, seemingly harmless. Yet these moments plant the first seeds of self-consciousness, the first seeds of shame. And the process is so gradual that most people never notice what's happening. They don't realize they're moving from freedom toward control. Psychology has a name for part of this process: operant conditioning. Behavior is shaped through rewards and punishments. When you behave in approved ways, you receive acceptance, praise, affection, belonging. When you behave differently, you risk criticism, embarrassment, disapproval, rejection. Eventually, your brain learns a powerful lesson. Conformity feels safe. And this is where the invisible cage begins. A cage so familiar that most people mistake it for their personality. You think you're making independent choices. But often, those choices have already been filtered through years of social programming. You say what's acceptable, wear what's approved, think what's expected, avoid risks that might attract criticism. And before you do anything outside the norm, a voice appears in your mind. What if people laugh at me? What if I embarrass myself? What if they reject me? For many people, those questions become powerful enough to stop action before it even begins. The deeper layer, identity and belonging. There's another layer to this that runs even deeper. According to social identity theory, your identity isn't created in isolation. It's tied to the groups you belong to. Your family, your culture, your community, your religion, your social environment. These groups provide a sense of belonging, but they also provide rules. Rules about who you should be, how you should act, what you should value. And when you step outside those expectations, something interesting happens. You don't just face judgment from other people. You begin judging yourself. The external authority becomes internal. The voice of society becomes the voice inside your own head. And that's when control becomes truly powerful. Because now, nobody has to stop you. You stop yourself. This is why so many people remain trapped in lives they know don't fit them. They know they need change. They know something feels wrong, yet they stay exactly where they are. Because challenging conditioning feels dangerous. To the brain, uncertainty often feels like a threat. Your nervous system responds with fear, anxiety, hesitation, resistance. So intellectually, you understand what needs to change. But emotionally, you remain frozen. Nietzsche and the fear of individuality. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche argued that society often behaves like a herd, a collective that rewards conformity and discourages individuality. From this perspective, morality can sometimes become more than a guide for ethical behavior. It can become a mechanism of social control, not because people are malicious, but because groups naturally protect their own norms. As a result, labels like good and bad aren't always objective truths. Often, they're reflections of what a particular society finds acceptable. Behavior that supports the group is praised. Behavior that challenges the group is criticized. Think about it. Why are confident, outspoken, unapologetic people so often called arrogant? Why does authenticity sometimes make others uncomfortable? Because people who refuse to blindly follow social expectations remind everyone else that they have a choice. And that can be unsettling. It challenges the assumption that conformity is the only path, which reveals something important. One of the hidden goals of conditioning is not to impose limits. It's to make people accept those limits willingly. The voice asking, "What will people think?" is rarely your original voice. It's a collection of voices: parents, teachers, authority figures, cultural expectations, messages repeated so many times that they've become part of your internal dialogue. And the most dangerous part, it feels natural. You no longer question it. You simply obey it. The everyday reality. Imagine wanting to do something completely harmless. Laugh loudly in public. Start a conversation with someone you don't know. Express an opinion that might not be popular. The moment the idea appears, your mind begins creating stories. They'll judge me. This will be awkward. I'll look stupid. I'll get rejected. But here's the truth. Most of the fear isn't coming from reality. It's coming from conditioning. Your brain believes it's protecting you. Yet often, it's protecting you from experiences that could help you grow. The same mechanism designed to keep you safe can also keep you small. Breaking the pattern. The first step is awareness. You have to learn how to separate your authentic thoughts from the beliefs you've inherited. Whenever fear appears, pause and ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Is this actually my opinion? Or is it someone else's voice speaking through me? Questions like these begin weakening the structure of conditioning. The second step is what we might call micro-rebellion. You don't need to transform overnight. You don't need dramatic acts of defiance. Start small. Maintain strong eye contact. Speak your mind when you normally stay silent. Walk with confidence. Express yourself without constantly editing every word. Small acts may seem insignificant, but every time you survive an uncomfortable moment, your brain learns something new. Being different is not dangerous. Being seen is not dangerous. Being yourself is not dangerous. And slowly, the conditioning begins to lose its grip. The third step is changing your relationship with shame itself. Most people treat shame as evidence that something is wrong, but what if shame is simply a signal? A signal that you're stepping beyond the boundaries you've been taught to stay inside. A signal that you're entering unfamiliar territory. The territory where growth happens. If you never experience discomfort, there's a good chance you're still operating entirely within the limits of your conditioning. Growth almost always feels uncomfortable before it feels natural. And over time, something remarkable begins to happen. The things that once terrified you become ordinary. The conversations, the risks, the self-expression, the confidence. Not because people suddenly approve of you, but because their approval stops determining your worth. And that is what freedom actually feels like. The truth most people avoid. If you never challenge your conditioning, you'll never discover who you could have been without it. You'll spend your life inside boundaries you never consciously chose, living a life that feels safe, acceptable, predictable, but never fully your own. The moment you begin questioning the invisible system shaping your thoughts, everything changes. Because you're no longer just changing your behavior, you're redefining your identity. And that is where the journey toward becoming shameless truly begins. The moment you realize something profound, the self you currently identify with is not necessarily the self you were meant to become. Much of it was built, conditioned, constructed, and if it was constructed, it can be reconstructed. Maybe the freedom you're looking for isn't out there. Maybe it's on the other side of the fear you've